So then what do you do now that you understand, you see that pattern?
Um, for me, it is the like that hook of like this is just your anxiety talking is still the same way that I get around it now. Um, like catching that is just the most important part for me. I'm trying to think if there are other things that, yeah, like some of the other like self-talk, I guess, that I do is like if someone says, I'm pregnant, and I think to myself, what if I'm pregnant? This like sort of talk track that's just like that's someone else's experience. Just because it's someone else's experience does not mean it's happening to you. One of the lines that I've been using actually a lot related to work and to daily incidental anxieties is just because I had the thought does not mean that it is happening or that it is true. And that is helpful because I have all sorts of thoughts that cause anxiety all the time. And so keeping in mind that thought does not equal reality has been helpful.
Yeah, that's great. I'm really happy to hear that. And I'm happy to hear that even though you have all kinds of anxious thoughts all the time, you don't sound demoralized by it. Do you want, I know we talked about that briefly a couple minutes ago, but do you want to expand on that at all? How have you learned to accept? So it's one thing to accept anxiety in any given moment and see a thought as a thought, not a fact, prediction, or message, and allow the sensations not as signals that you need to do anything, but rather just as sensations in your body. That is how I would frame up willing acceptance in any given moment. But acceptance overall that you have anxiety sensitivity and the proclivity to get anxious can also be challenging. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like acceptance of having it overall is I think that that is still probably a work in progress. Like, I feel great about it right now, but I guess I've become aware that your mind and your sensations and your um, kind of disposition towards the world and even life events are really malleable. You're not on a straight line of life. And I very much had ups and downs. And right now I'm pretty up. And so it is actually much easier for me to say, um, yeah, this is just something I'll deal with. It's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. There are plenty of other things I could deal with. And this is a very common problem. And I now know the tools that I'll have to continue to work on it throughout my life. Um, it would be unfair, I think, to say that I'm always in that mindset because when I think about the ups and downs in life and know that I kind of am someone who has a roller coaster and that I do go into downs, it is definitely harder in those moments to deal with it. I think one thing, though, that in the downs that is now different than was when I was back in college and first experiencing anxiety is that the world itself has become much more accepting of the fact that mental health problems exist. And I think we're seeing it more now with COVID, where I'm seeing, a lot of people be pretty forthright about the mental health problems they're having now. And you're seeing a lot of people create tools and practices like You've Stood Up Huddle that are really kind of making, I guess, kind of normalizing the experience of anxiety because it is incredibly common. So I have noticed in the downs, even though it is harder to be like, yeah, it's cool that I'll have to deal with this the rest of my life, I have been able to take a little more comfort in the fact that so many other women my age have the same experience. And because I've had so many cycles of the ups and downs now, I can at least recognize you're in a down period and you've gotten to an up before, and you kind of just need to hang on a little bit longer until you start to like get out of this little trough that you're in. Does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense. So you're more aware that there's no thought, feeling, or sensation that's permanent. Like
Yes.
everything is temporary and it's going to change.
Yes. And like I said, like when you're in the downs, like I think it is much harder to think that, but I have the awareness because I've been through the cycle enough to be like, okay, this is not going to last forever. It sucks. I might not feel as positive about it as I am speaking to you right now, but I am aware that it's not permanent.